All right, so we're going to talk about um, a few things here. Also in here you'll have, we have the class videos and some different things too, but we have this HTML basics. You can use that if you want. I normally use like those PowerPoints as a guide. I'm making sure I have all the material covered, but I kind of jump all over the place. Let's launch brackets here. What's right there? So last class we made this like Explorer site, right? And everybody, like these little profile sites, right? And everybody kind of learned a little bit about those. So let's do a quick review here. That one's another class there. I'm going to pull in this page. What is this right here again? We talked about this last week, I think a week ago. It's not language, but it's a document type, right? So that's our doc type. And what are some of the other common doc types we talked about that are out there? Do you guys remember? Evelyn, do you remember any of them? We're on HTML5. So does that spark anything? How about like HTML4, right? Or XHTML, the big ones. And then we have this tag, this HTML tag, and this is what we call an attribute. Okay, it's like an attribute of tags, and certain tags have them, like this meta here. That's an attribute of this kind of meta tag, and this is another one right here. I'm going to have you guys place this tag into your stuff for now. This basically means that we're not going to have Google go through and index it and then put your website online where people can find it, because you may not want it there, and in the future, you may not. Oh well, in the future, some of your assignments I don't want online either, but we can still see it. We have head tags, which are metadata. Did we talk about that a little bit? Do you guys remember what metadata is? Maddie, do you remember what metadata is at all? If I was to take a photo and pull it up on my computer, I'd probably see a date and time that photo was taken, and maybe a geolocation, maybe that it came off of an iPhone. So that's metadata. Data describing data, right? And this is what that kind of stuff is mostly. Metadata, stuff that isn't seen necessarily on the page, but is still there. And I can double click on these files and launch them locally. And again, we know that they're local if it's a file : / / and then the location on the hard drive of where those are at. And you can kind of see, in this case, the little profile page that I made. What I'm going to do for you guys today is I have a folder here. It's built in your accounts if you have a school account, but not everybody's going to have that. And I'm going to create a folder here, and I'm going to dump this Explorer one into it. And you guys, if you want to, can pull that up at curl.php.dixie.edu/web1400/explore1. And as I'm making changes, I'm not going to put in this Explore 1. You guys can, and that's you need to for your assignments. But I'm just going to leave it actually in just the Web 1400. So I'm going to take that and dump that there and just get rid of the Explore name, just so it's just shorter, so you guys don't have to remember as much when you're typing stuff out. So anytime you go to that URL right there during this class, I'm going to be making changes. So you can come in here and you can right-click the page and go to View Page Source, and it will pull up the source code that I'm writing in class, okay? And that'll make it a lot easier. So as I'm going through this, maybe pretty fast, and I'm, forgetting, and maybe I'm just cruising along, not paying attention where everybody's at, you guys can see exactly my code, and as I make a change here, it's going to flip and change over here. And so anytime you hit refresh and just look at the source code, you have a copy of my code live, right as I'm doing it right now, okay? So you're probably going to want to write that one down or save that somewhere, because you're going to want it. Because as I'm moving over the next semester doing stuff, you're just going to visit that URL there and It's going to come up. Again, it's curl.php.cs.dixie.edu/web1400, all lowercase. All right. So let's keep looking down through the syntax here and make sure everybody knows what we're talking about, because we made our first web page. Tyson, you have a question?
It's curl.php.cs.dixie.edu/web1400.
Web1400. Just like that. All right. So body tags again are our, essentially from that pixel down to that pixel. Anything seen inside the browser is the body. And as I put stuff in here, it shows up. And if you remember, we have these H1 tags. Well, you guys, maybe we didn't talk about them, but I can go out here and let me use some other tags, and so you guys can kind of see the difference here. You have H1 through H6 tags. Oops, yep, that's right. And what those do is they just look, make the text bold, put a little bit of space above and below them, and then make, the size a little bit different. I've also got a weird ending tag in there somewhere, and I'm not seeing it. Let me see where that one's coming from right there. I'm not seeing where that is. Oh, there it goes. It's refreshed. So that's what the header 1 through header 6 tags are. And it's important to kind of know about those a little bit. You're going to use this quite a bit. Think of those being used like if you had like a newspaper and you had like an article heading. That's what these tags would be. Okay. When I pull up dixie.edu, this would be probably an H1 tag right there. That would be maybe an H2 tag or something slightly smaller. That one would be there. That would be like an H2 maybe as well. That would be maybe an H4. Do you guys kind of see how these work? Okay. And so just kind of know what they are. They're not too difficult. Then we have paragraph tags, and you can see that paragraph tag right here. There's the first one there, and then I wrote whatever, something underneath. Paragraph tags, just for that, it's for a piece of paragraph of text, and it puts a little bit of space above and below in those. Now that styling is what's called browser styling. Okay, there's a bunch of special styles that come built into the browser. And again, we talked about the bold and the little bit larger and the margin above and below, and this one just has a little bit of margin, but it's not bold and it's not any different in size, just a normal size, something like that. We also have another tag called a break tag, and I can come into one of these things and do this little BR, and what you'll see there is it'll shove it down. You see how that is not one line, it's 2 lines. It does say macro there, although that's hard to see. And you can kind of break stuff down and just, then you can, and there's a bunch right there. I'll save them all, and you can kind of see, all these breaks have forced in to that to kind of shove something down. Now, for right now, as far as HTML goes, if you guys want to push stuff down the line, works great, right? Those who've started diving into CSS a little bit, maybe you have a little experience, you'll know that we don't use breaks to move stuff down. We use like margins, and we say we want stuff to be X amount of pixels underneath. But for now, just for HTML, this is fine. And you guys can put those little breaks in there wherever you want. There's another one called an HR for horizontal ruler, kind of like a BR but an HR. And you put that one in, it just drops a line across the way. And it acts like a break where it does shove a kind of break in between, but throws this little horizontal ruler across your page, like so. And they're okay too. I'm going to get rid of all these H2 through H6s, so I don't want them there anymore. And let's talk about some more tags. So there's another one. I don't ever use this, and to be honest with you, outside of the assignment, you're going to get one assignment that has you do it. I don't think you're ever going to use it either. But it's called block quote. And block quote, all it does is kind of basically shove some text over. Let's grab some lorem ipsum. Lorem ipsum is just like kind of a nonsensical, text. And you can kind of generate it up here if you want. And it's nice just for like quick blocks of text if you just want to throw a bunch of text in, just to kind of show what it might look like. And come back here and you can see there's a paragraph, and then a block quote. So block quote, we know, works kind of like a paragraph, but actually shoves it over, okay? Like it tabs the whole paragraph over just a little bit. So that's block quote. It's not too hard. Again, I never use it. You rarely see it out in the wild, but it is a thing. Inside of this, I'm going to take this little word lorem ipsum here, and I'm going to wrap this inside of this bold tag. And again, you remember that tags have a starting tag and an ending tag, but not always. You might have something like this horizontal ruler. It just shoves a ruler, and it's not gonna. You don't ever need to close it out. Yeah, Kyle.
Will the closing tag always have a backslash?
Yeah. Did we talk about that last class? I can't remember if we did or not. So you need to have an opening tag and a closing tag, and the closing tag always has that slash and then the same name, right? You also need to be careful when you're doing things to have it in order. Think of it like a box within a box, okay? So I have this body tag right here, and then inside that body tag I have this block quote, and I can also tab this back if it makes it easier just to read, okay? And I could even do that to this lorem ipsum little tag here too, but like that, okay? But you can kind of see, like, you know, there's a box, then another box, and another box, and so forth. But what you don't want to do is something like this, where you would take that bold tag, you'd say block quote bold, then you would bold everything, and then after the block quote you end it like that. That's what we call invalid code. Okay, so I'm going to save that. And one problem with that is you can see that, you know, it just bolded everything. And didn't know when to do, and didn't know when to close it. And you can go check your code by looking up what's called an HTML validator. Okay. From this moment forward, from today on, all code that gets turned into me needs to be validated by the HTML validator. That's not just your home page, but every subpage. And so what you do to do that, you type out HTML validator, you find the validator.w3.org, you go here, and if you have code, you can go to this direct input, and you can just copy and paste everything and paste it in. If you have it online, you can just go give it the URL, like so. And I'll refresh that, so yep, let's update, and I'll put the URL in here. And either one of those will work fine, and you can just hit check. You can even do a file upload, and you can see where it has some errors, okay? And you can see where it says the end block quote tag was seen, but there were open elements. So it knows that it saw this, but there was something in here that was still open that was never closed out. And so I could take that one right there, and I could put that right there and save it and check it again, and you can see it came back just fine, and it validated. So again, like I said before, 20% of your grade on your assignments is your validation, okay? If you guys just want to, you know, do a quick check every now and then to make sure you're writing clean code, just validate it. One thing you'll find, though, is, for example, maybe I'll take out this paragraph closing tag right here, okay? It is not valid, and I could check that again to show that, well, it may think that this whole thing's a block quote. Let's do it this way. Let's take out that one as well. Why is that? It's being dumb. Let's really just make it invalid here. There we go. What you'll find is sometimes with your code, and this may not be the case, so it is, it will look the way you intend it to look, although you're writing bad code. You guys will turn in an assignment that will look the way it's supposed to, but it won't be valid code. So just make sure you validate, and often when you're validating, it'll give you little, you know, clues on what line you might be having a problem on, and so you kind of have to troubleshoot it. And that's why it's really handy to kind of do what I've been doing here with this indentation where you can push it down a line and then back, and then you can see an opening tag and a closing tag. Get that habit down as soon as you can. The sooner you do it, the sooner your life's going to be easier. All right. This is something. I mean, to be honest with you, in a not too far distant future, you're going to have pages and pages of code. And if you have like an opening tag up here or something and a closing tag down here, you may not see it and you may forget about it, and then you won't validate because of it. But if you have that kind of indentation I've been showing you here with different things, then you're probably going to save yourself a lot of time trying to troubleshoot where each of those are. I'm going to leave all, well, no, I'm going to indent over my head tags. I mean, I could probably indent over my head tags because there's an HTML one there and an HTML one there, but to be honest with you, I'm not going to see a problem with that. But these are probably really good to do. And I didn't do that with all of them because it was just like a short line. There's really no reason to like do that, right? Because I don't know. Because I can just see it and I know that I'm probably okay. But this one too, I mean, I could probably bring that in. And if you remember, I think we talked about, it ignores white space. So if I just put a bunch of white space characters in, it just takes it as, you know, it ignores it. Okay, so like I can go in this lorem ipsum and I can do all these spaces right here and go back, and you'll notice that that space isn't showing up, right? So if you do put in these indentations, it's not gonna break your code at all. Do you guys have any questions right now? What we're doing? All right. For your homework assignment, for this first one, you guys are going to build a simple page. And so a lot of the stuff we're going to be covering today are those techniques to build that page. So as you see me doing something and using a certain tag, you can almost look at this and say, oh, that's what I have to do in order to pull that off. Okay, so hopefully what I'm covering here right now, you know, with the paragraph, and you can see the paragraph right there, or an H1 or an H2 underneath. You know, on some subpages, I think there's some block quotes or something. No, those are definition lists. But you can kind of see what we're doing as we kind of go down through this. All right, so we have bold tags, and then we have like an italicized tag or an italics or whatever, and I can tag that one right there. And you can see on that one, these words right here are italicized. They're kind of tilted a little bit sideways, okay? So that's that. Now, there are some other tags that you can use that are called semantic markup. And semantic tags are something like, kind of like this, where this says this is a header 1. It kind of describes what it is. And I can take this word right here and I can use this thing called strong. And what strong is going to do is it's going to bold it, okay? You can see that bolded right there. And you might say, well, what's the point of using strong over bold if they look the same? Well, strong sometimes might be interpreted another way, depending on, like, you guys have any family members that might be blind or handicapped in that sense that need special screen readers or anything of that sort? Does anybody know anybody like that? Do you? And often with things like that for accessibility, this might be said differently, or you know, if they're listening to it, or it might be interpreted differently. And so you're just, you know, like when you say we're using this strong to make this kind of a little bit like a stronger emphasis, then use those strong tags. In my opinion, I just tell people use strong over bold tags. And this is kind of more of a tag for accessibilities. And like we have italics right here, we can also come over to this word and use EM for emphasis. And this, again, will look italicized on your browser by default right there. But with different accessibility tools and things like that, you know, it emphasizes those words. And it might look a little bit different and it might act a little different, but that's what those tags are there. So again, more for an accessibility standpoint. So again, I'd use strong and emphasize on your tags rather than bold and italics. Kyle?
That was my question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now the homework is going to have you use bold, I know, but I'm just like on your explore and assist stuff, strong and emphasis would be good to use, and on your final project, things like that. When you kind of go out and do other things, I'd definitely use those. Okay, let's do a unordered list. So I'm going to come up here. I've got this profile page going, but I kind of think we ought to like flip topics to something that we're going to use over the course of the semester. Normally I let the class kind of pick what that is. Does anybody have any good ideas, something kind of funny that we can use over the course of the semester? Something funny. I mean, I've done llamas before, and we've done in another class right now. We were doing like a flat Earth society, something, just something with that's going to have a lot of photos, a lot of good content we can scrape and use, and something genuinely hilarious that every time we pull it up every day, we're all going to have a good laugh because it's just funny. What are you thinking? Okay, maybe not obscure because then we're not going to have a lot of images and stuff we can pull from, but give it to me if you want.
Jokes from the
Joke SCPs? SCPs? Yeah, maybe something a little bit more broad. Any other big ideas?
Memes.
Maybe like a funny movie. You want to do memes? You want to do a site about memes? You're laughing, so that's good. All right. We're going to hold you in charge of coming up with some good memes for us, all right? They've got to be clean, though, all right, guys? There's a lot of unclean memes out there. What do you guys want to name the site? Something with memes. We've got to have something clever, though. Any ideas? Anything, Huh? Meme? Oh. Meter. That seems like that would already be a thing, but I don't know. All right, we'll go with Memometer. I like that. I can get behind that. Who came up with that? Was that you? Who was it? Was that you said memes? Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. Oops. All right. I'm just going to copy this paragraph in here. We'll get some memes up here and put some funny stuff in here. I just don't want to look up my own stuff here for next little bit. I'm going to kill these block quotes. Let's design up here a menu, okay? So we're going to come up with a bunch of links to other pages. What are our pages? So we've got a home, maybe like top 10 something. I don't know. What do you guys like? Give me some good pages that we want to develop our site on.
Like moods.
What?
Like happy or like.
Oh, moods? Okay. What else? Let's do like 5 or 6. Huh? Animals? All right, animals. What else? Collective? Trending, I like that. And we'll just do a contact or something at the end. All right, we got a Memometer. And right now, when we do that, they're just going across, right? I'm going to show you how to create a link. So to do a link, you put what's called an anchor tag, okay? And we have an opening and closing, and we're going to wrap the closing around this home. And that's going to make it so anytime we click on home, it's going to do something. But we actually have to put in an attribute. So we're going to do the hyperlink reference, or an href. And that href is going to go somewhere anytime we click on home. So right now, if I say http://google.com and I refresh that, you can see how home is highlighted here now. And I click on home, it takes us over to Google. Okay, that's what we call an anchor tag, and uses a hyperlink reference. So this is what we call an absolute link. And an absolute link goes to a specific website using a specific protocol. You guys remember going over the URL structure last class, right? The protocol and the domain name and TLD and stuff like that. Well, that's an absolute link. Let me show you how to do a relative link. So I'm going to do my tag. And this one would look something like this, where we just say top10.html. And the way that that would work is inside this folder, I would create a new file and I would call it top10.html. And the way that works is it looks inside of the same folder and looks for a file called that. All right. This one would say google.com/index.html. So this is an absolute because it uses that HTTP in a domain name, and this one just looks for something in the same directory. Okay. Now for your own menus, you probably want to make them all relative, right? Something like that. So I'm going to say I'm going to go to an index.html. That's this page. I could have a top 10. I could do, I'll do the rest of them here. And this one we have moods, and this one we called animals. And it's good to match them up, And again, if you see what I'm doing here, they're all lowercase, and there's no spaces in any of that. And then we've got to have all those closing tags on those. And we've just created ourselves a nice little menu right there. Okay. Home exists. Okay, I click on home and it goes back to the same page because, again, did I talk about the default page? I can't remember if I talked about that with you guys in here. You need to have a default landing page it looks for. Like when I go to facebook.com, what actual file is it pulling? Well, if I type out a /index.php, it pulls that file. And so servers are set to look for a specific web page first. Okay? When it pulls up a file or a folder or something, if we don't have an index in there, so like I'm going to take this index and I'm going to call this one, let's rename it. We're going to call this one meme.html, and inside of my Web1400 directory right now, I do not have an index file. And so when I come back here, and I take that out, and I just say /Web1400, and I hit enter, do you see how it doesn't pull anything up? It doesn't know what to pull up. And so it's always looking for an index file. And so every folder needs to have some kind of index file in it, like I've done right there. And then it just automatically pulls right up and says, oh, and that didn't work. There we go. Oh, that's the file you want. That's the default one. That's why Facebook pulls up that index.php file, right? It's just the default landing page. And so, again, everything needs to have that. Now, I called it home. What you don't want to do is call that home. So don't call that home. Call that index. Okay, that's the landing page we want to go to. What's that? Because the server doesn't know that. The server that we're on right now says if it doesn't specify a page, go to index. Now you can go in your server and you can say go to home and have it point back to home. But that's a server side change you have to make to have it do that. Very rarely does that happen though. I know some older Windows servers used to look for home.html, but they all look for index today for the most part, unless you change. All right. All right, so let's take this, and we're going to change this into a bullet list that goes down, okay? And this is what we call an unordered list, and an unordered list just starts with a UL, okay? And each unordered list is going to have a list item or a little dot, and we can say like 1 or something there. And I'm just showing you this so you can kind of see that right there. And let's take our menu, and let's take our menu items and put them inside of that unordered list, okay? So I'm going to take that, I'm going to copy it out, I'm going to paste it right there, tab that over nice. And for each of these items, I'm going to make them a list item right up in front and one on the back side. So I'm going to go there, there, and there, and there, and there, and there, and copy those down. And so now what we've just done is we've converted our items into a nice kind of vertical menu with those dots. Okay, and again, that's what we call an unordered list. Okay, We can also change that to be an ordered list by changing that to be an OL. So ordered list and unordered list. An ordered list just gives numbers, just counts it down. Okay, and you can actually mix and match those if you want to. Let's do that as an unordered list. Go back to dots. And then inside of moods, I'm going to push that LI down. And you can do another one. You can say unordered list. And inside of this, we're going to do a list item. And we'll say happy and sad and cranky or something. And when we look at that, you can see how it's indented these over and given it like a little donut rather than a dot. Okay, and you can again mix and match those if you want to. So we could make that an ordered list if we wanted to, and that would just make those ordered and this an unordered list. You guys clear on all that? Yeah.
Is that a way to make a drop down?
So this is exactly how you make drop downs. We haven't got to CSS yet, but we will. But essentially what you say is hide these, and then when I hover over this, turn that one on and unhide it. And that's how a drop down menu works. When I go into something like that, well, this is more of a click and then those come up. But same concept, you know, it's going to hide it or, you know, turn it on and off. Tyson, you got a question? Okay, you look like you're going to talk or something, but I wasn't sure. Cool. So that's an unordered list, an ordered list, a nested ordered list, and an unordered list, and we've also shown you how to make your own menu items. Now again, when we look at the homework assignment, how do we make that? Is that with an unordered list? What do you guys think? Is that an unordered list up here? You guys see any dots on it? It's not, right? It's just a bunch of linked items and some spaces thrown in between them. I'll show you how to do those spaces here in a second. And you can see an unordered list right here. So that would be a UL and then an LI for each of those, right? That would be a paragraph. That'd be an H2. That'd be an H1. For the most part, can you guys design this page right now? You could. It's not that bad. We're going to show you some more stuff you can do. But yeah, that's pretty simple. I don't like these. I'm going to show you it, and this is the only time I'm ever going to bring it up again in this class. The homework has you do it. The book has you go over it. I still think they're dumb. This is what we call definition list, okay? What you do is you start out with a DL, and then inside your DL, you type out a definition type. And so we might say something like oranges, that's fine. And then we do a definition data. We can say, you know, a orange round fruit or something like that. I'm just putting some lorem ipsum here just for filler. Okay. And then I would do another one down underneath, and I could say something like apples and a red round fruit or something. And what that does is it kind of looks like, you know, here's the word and here's the definition to it. So that's why they call it definition list. On your homework, it's going to have you do one of those. Again, that's not it. I think they're dumb, and you don't really see them ever out in the wild. But that's one right there. That's one right there. These do not have breaks in them. Okay, so don't put breaks. Those are just a long definition list that somebody, you know, well, that I squozed in, and so it went down to multiple lines. Fab, did you say something? Okay, and then over here. Definition data, I think. Again, this is really the only time I think we're ever going to talk about this. There might be a question on the midterm about this, but if I had any sense when I was putting it together, I probably took it off because they're dumb. But again, nobody uses them. I don't really like them. So I'm just going to delete that, and that's gone. Another thing I'm going to show you that we haven't really talked about is what's called a special character. So let's say down here at the bottom I say copyright 2018. I'm going to put that on there, okay? And I want that copyright symbol, and I don't know how to get that copyright symbol because it's not on my keyboard, and I could just look it up if I wanted to. I could do copyright symbol, and I could be like, oh, there it is, you know, copy, and then I could paste that in there, and that might work. That's one way of doing it, right? But there are special character codes that we can use that you guys probably are unaware of, okay? To do this copyright symbol, you do a little ampersand and say copy and then a colon. And when I do that in HTML, it actually pulls up the little copyright symbol. You can see the copyright symbol showing up right there. So again, just ampersand copy. Now maybe there's a time where I want to add a bunch of space. Maybe between lorem ipsum, I want a whole bunch of spaces. And when I do this, because it ignores white space, it doesn't actually show up, you know, multiple spaces. So I'm going to force some spaces in there. The way we do that is ampersand NBSP. And that is the tag to force spaces. So if I do a whole bunch of those, you know, in there, and save it, you can see that it's forced in all those spaces. So on your homework, for example, and you see all these spaces in between, a little thicker, that's how you pull it off with those. Let's say I wanted to, yeah, NBSP, ampersand NBSP. Let's say I wanted to write a word here, and I want to say use a paragraph tag to make a. Okay, so does anybody see any problems with this right there? It's going to try to make a paragraph out of that, right? But I genuinely want this tag to show up there. Well, to do that, I have to use special character codes. This one is going to be ampersand less than, colon, and ampersand greater than, colon. And what that does is it just kind of forces those little characters in. You can see where it would do that without making that all a paragraph, okay? If you guys go look up like HTML special characters or special character codes and just look down through some of these, there's a lot. You know, we can look at this. I mean, you guys ever seen like on Facebook or social or something, they always like flip their names upside down or they build a picture, a bunch of weird characters. I mean, that's all these things are, and there's tons of them, you know, all kinds of weird character codes that you can use. You know, you want clubs, ampersand clubs, and you can use that. And so these are some of the common ones you might see out there. You can do those, you know, copy, registration, euro or something. And there's a lot. There's hundreds and hundreds of those things. But it's good to know just a couple of them that you might run into from time to time. And the copyright one's definitely one of those that you probably want to remember. Okay? So as we look on, I'm going to flip subjects a little bit. As we look on a website, you guys are going to see, for example here, that different parts of a page are kind of built in their own areas. All right? So you have this top area up here, right? And we have this little sidebar over here and another column over there. And then we have this kind of main section with this little guy on the inside and then a section kind of over here. And we can divide our page up into sections, okay? Right now, I'm going to show you the code on how to divide stuff. I'm not going to show you the code quite yet on how to like resize or move them around. But what you want to do is we do want to divide up our sections into, you know, subsections. And the way we do that is using what's called the div tag. And the div tag just divides up a section by itself, okay? So I'm going to put those two in a div tag, and I'm going to put them right there, okay? And I'm going to come over here, I'm going to do another div tag. Tab that over, and I'll end that div tag. And that will be another section. So we've got one for our top area, one for our navigation. We'll do one for like our main content area. There. maybe one for our footer down at the bottom of the page, and that's good. All right, and right now it's not going to look any different, okay, except for I have some kind of syntax problem. There it is. That was weird. So div tags, what you need to know about them right now is all they are is like an empty piece of text or a tag that you put in, and it divides up a section. If I look in my inspector here, my inspect element thing, and I go to this div, this might help you visualize where that div begins and ends. So if I hover over it, you guys see that div right there kind of highlighted in blue? And if I come down to my other one, there's another div highlighted, and another div highlighted, and another div highlighted. And as we move into future projects, you're going to find that you can take that div and you can resize it really thin and add a background color to it and move it to the side of your screen and put stuff inside of it. And you can do another one up top and do another column on the side. And we're going to teach you all those, but for right now, foundation is just know that a div just kind of holds something, and you're going to be able to do something with it later on. You guys have any questions on divs? Okay, you're going to be doing divs. Do you guys see these right here? This header, nav, main, div, and footer. Those are all sections of that page. This header, navigation, main, and footer of how everything's going to be broken out. Now, in XHTML1 and HTML4, some of these old doc types, this is how we did everything with divs. When HTML5 came out, it said, you know what? We're gonna step it up a little better, and rather than me calling this a div, we're gonna call this one a header tag. And it's gonna work exactly like a div. They're gonna be one and the same. The only difference is one says it's a header, and one is gonna be a div. But when a search engine comes through and sees the word header, it's gonna know that this is probably the top of your web page and top elements, like your logo. Maybe you're gonna include like some contact information up there like some people do, or it's going to be the top section of your page, okay? And for our navigation, rather than calling it, putting in a div, we're actually going to just say it's our navigation, And so when a search engine comes through and looks at it, it's going to know, hey, these are our main navigation links. We know what they are now. Again, like I said before, it looks exactly the same. Nothing's going to change. It works exactly like a div tag, but it just has a different name, so now it's communicating what that content is. Rather than being a div tag here, we're going to call this our main content. Okay, that is our main content of our page. And rather than having this be a div, we're going to call this one a footer. It is our footer, code that we're going to have in there. And div is still a div. Like if you want to use divs, you can use divs. But these are more appropriate because then you're communicating. This is our main content. This is our navigation. This is our header area. This is our footer. There's a whole bunch of them. There's like sidebars, and there's sections, and there's timestamps, and there's dates, and all kinds of other things we can do. But for right now, those are the main ones. So when we look at our homework, and I say make a header up top and put a bunch of stuff in it, and make a nav and put a bunch of stuff in it, and make a main. And this main has a div in it, you can see. So we could actually put a div in here if we wanted to, with this paragraph, and I could say, put a div in this, and then maybe I want to write out something like maybe a paragraph. I could say contact me at curl at dixie.edu or something like that, right? And that could be a div inside of this, and it looks fine. Again, if I refresh that, just says contact me, and if you hover over main, you can see where the main body kind of goes and where footer goes down there, and header and nav and stuff like that. You guys all clear on that? Yeah.
This is a little ahead, but say you're in your CSS for it. What would you name it? So say I had a bunch of divs. What would you name all of your, say you want to move some stuff within a list, within a div, but you also have different divs.
So you use classes and IDs. We haven't got to those yet. They're gonna blow your mind. Okay. No, they're really handy. Just for now, no header, nav, main, and footer. Those are the important ones you really need to know about. There's also times where we may want to open a tab in a new, so you remember we have home and we have this top 10 and moods and all that stuff. I'm going to take out that cranky as well, right there, just so we have a cleaner navigation. And before I did have one of these. Let's go to contact here, and we're just going to have this one go to an absolute link. But when I hit contact, I don't want it to leave my page. Okay, right now it left my page and I have to hit back to get to it. And have you guys ever seen where you click on one and it opens a new tab? The way we do that is inside of this we give it, okay, so we have the anchor tag, we have an attribute href with its data, we're going to do another space, and we're going to do another attribute, and this one we're going to say target equals quotations underscore blank. So there's two attributes in this anchor tag, and one's to say make a new blank target, and this one it's hyperlink reference. And so when I refresh that now, you can see this tab is up here. I hit contact, it loaded Google in a new tab and left my old one right there. So you can force links to go to a new tab. Now, do you guys think that that target underscore blank is really good to put in all of your internal pages? Like every time I click on, moods or whatever, it's open a new tab. You don't want to do that. If you're leaving your page, this is a good thing to do. It's great to do. So I'm going to back that up and just put in, whoops, we have our contact, and that's fine. There's another kind of link that we can do, and I don't use this either. I wouldn't recommend using this other than the homework has you do it. Later on we're going to show you how to do this better, but for now I'm going to wrap my email address, or just contact me at I could write my email, okay? And in here I'm going to do a hyperlink reference, and I can type out my email address, and that doesn't actually go anywhere, okay, because that's not an actual web address URL. What I can do is I can use this mail to colon, so just mail to colon curl@dixie.edu, and what that does says contact me at my email. I click on that and it launches the default mail editor, and you can see it tried to pull up mail here. I don't have it set up right now, and then it would populate my email address in there and let somebody send you an email. A very old way of doing that. The problem with this today is, a bot could go through and scrape content and just collect your email address in plain text and then put you on a spam list. That's one of the reasons why, I do stuff like this, is so you guys don't get spammed, with that no follow. Just basically means don't let the search engine index you and find you. Just hide your content for now. That's what that means. But that is a little trick to create a link that would to do that. Okay. All right. At this point, you guys should know enough how to do all of the homework. Okay. As I look at this, you can see, like we said before, H1 links with forced special character spaces in between, an H2, a paragraph, a bullet list. You're going to wrap a div around this stuff right here. This is going to be your footer. This is going to be your main, and you can see each of those right here. Look at these when I give you these, because these are telling you where each tag needs to go. In future assignments, a lot of students have problems with them. But that's what those are. And this one's going to be a bunch of definition lists, or your H2. You're going to have some footer in there, italics, an email address you can click on, stuff like that. And this is going to give you very specific instructions on what text to use and what things. And then you're going to submit it to, your domain name .altavista.org/dixie2/index.html, and that's what you're going to submit to me as your assignment. Okay. Any questions on the lecture material we covered today? Pretty straightforward, eh? All right, I'm going to pause the video here. Too late.